In a society in which nearly everybody is dominated by somebody else's mind or by a disembodied mind, it becomes increasingly difficult to learn the truth about the activities of governments and corporations, about the quality or value of products, or about the health of one's own place and economy. In such a society, also, our private economies will depend less and less upon the private ownership of real usable property, and more upon property that is institutional and abstract, beyond individual control, such as money, insurance policies, certificate of deposit, stocks, and shares. And as our private economies become a more abstract and mutual free help and pleasures of family and community life will be supplanted by a kind of displaced or placeless citizenship, and by commerce with impersonal and self interested suppliers. Thus, although we are not slaves in name and cannot be carried to market and sold as somebody else's legal chattels, we are free only within narrow limits. For all our talk about liberation and personal autonomy, there are few choices that we are free to make. What would be the point, for example, if the majority of our people decided to be self employed? The great enemy of freedom is the alignment of political power with wealth. The alignment destroys the commonwealth, that is, the natural wealth of localities and the local economies of household, neighborhood, and community, and so destroys democracy, of which the commonwealth is the foundation and practical means. It's a recession when your neighbor loses his job. It's depression when you lose your own. And know something, I'd lay even odds that between the people following us and the people hunting us, we become this city's principal means of employment. Entire economy is now based on fucking with us. The acute self-dissolving contradiction Marx had very precisely seen and foreseen that it establishes a monopoly in certain spheres and thereby requires state and interference. This contradiction reproduces a new financial aristocracy. How much Marx was right, and no matter it will call itself Communist Party or of Soviet Union or DuPont financial circle, it reproduces a new variety of parasites, a whole system of swindling and cheating by means of corporation, promotion, stock insurance, and stock speculation. Once you've realized that trickle down economics does not work, you will see the excessive tax cuts for the rich as what they are, a simple upward redistribution of income rather than a way to make all of us richer, as we are told. The man whose whole life is spent in performing a few simple operations of which the effects are perhaps always the same, or very nearly the same, has no occasion to exert his understanding or to exercise his invention in finding out expedients for removing difficulties which never occur. He naturally loses, therefore, the habit of such exertion, and generally becomes as stupid as and ignorant as it is possible for a human creature to become. The conservatives are fools. They whine about the decay of traditional values, yet they enthusiastically support technological progress and economic growth. Apparently, it never occurs to them that you can't make rapid, drastic changes in the technology and the economy of the society without causing rapid changes in all other aspects of the society as well, and that such rapid changes inevitably break down traditional values. The real Satanist is not quite so easily recognized as such. Until you realize how easy it is for your mind to be manipulated, you remain a puppet of someone else's game. Satan has certainly been the best friend the church has ever had, as he has kept it in business all of these years. No nation has ever taxed itself into prosperity. You know what's truly weird about any financial crisis? We made it up. Currency, money, finance are all social investments. When the sun comes up in the morning, it's shining on the same physical landscape. All the atoms are in place. You can't tax business. A business doesn't pay taxes, it collects taxes. In the fashion industry, everything goes retro except the prices. When we replace a sense of service and gratitude with a sense of entitlement and expectation, we quickly see a demise of our relationships, society, and economy. Don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. The best way to boost the economy is to redistribute wealth downward, as poorer people tend to spend a higher proportion of their income. Our entire system is an economic sense is based on restriction, scarcity, and inefficiency are the movers of money. The more there is of any resource, the less you can charge for it. The more problems there are, the more opportunities there are to make money. This reality is a social disease. For example, can actually gain off the misery of others and the destruction of the environment. Efficiency, abundance, and sustainability are enemies of our economic structure, for they are inverse to the mechanics required to perpetuate consumption. And this is profoundly critical to understand. But once you put this together, you begin to see that the 1 billion people currently starving on this planet, the endless slums of the poor, and all the horrors of a culture due to poverty and pravity and are not natural phenomena due to some natural human order or lack of earthly resources. They are products of the creation, of perpetuation, and preservation of artificial scarcity and inefficiency. They're so broke that they've actually cut essential services in many places. They've cut policemen because who the fuck needs them? Or firemen, son of a bitch. It's much more fun watching something burn down. Ba bum bum da dum bum da bum fire bum bum. Disease is the biggest money maker in our economy. Thrift is poetic because it is creative. Waste is unpoetic because it is waste. One of the reasons that so many people of color and poor people are in prison is that the deindustrialization of the economy has led to the creation of new economies and the expansion of some old ones. I have already mentioned the drug trade and the market for sexual services at the same time, though there are a number of communities that more than welcome prisons as a source of employment. Communities even compete with one another to be the say where new prisons will be constructed because prisons create a significant number of relatively good jobs for their residents. Both political parties have moved to the right during the neoliberal period. Today's new Democrats are pretty much what used to be called moderate Republicans. The political revolution that Bernie Sanders called for rightly would not have greatly surprised Dwight Eisenhower. The fate of the minimum wage illustrates what has been happening through the periods of high and egalitarian growth in the 50s and 60s. The minimum wage, which sets a floor for other wages, tracked productivities that ended with the onset of the neoliberal doctrine. Since then, a minimum wage has stagnated and real value. Had it continued as before, would probably be close to $20 per hour. Today it is considered a political revolution to raise it to 15. I have come to understand that life is composed of a series of coincidences, how we react to those, how we exercise what some refer to as free will is everything. The choices we make within the boundaries of the twist of fate determine who we are. I don't think I've ever referred to any girl I dated as my girlfriend. I think that would freak me out. Even the girl that I dated for 2 years in college, I don't think I ever referred to her as my girlfriend. How would you introduce her? I asked. I'm just going to say her name, he said. No matter how many toys we amass and we leave them behind when we die, just as we leave a broken environment, an economy that only benefits the richest, and a legacy of empowering greed over goodness, it is now time to commit to following a new path. The world has a very serious problem, my friend Shiva went on. Poor children still die by their millions. Westerners and the global rich, like me, live in post-scarcity society while a billion people struggle to get enough to eat, and we're pushing the planet towards a tipping point where the corals die and the forests burn and life becomes much, much harder. We have the resources to solve these problems. Even now, but politics and economics and nationalism all get in the way. If we could access all those minds, though, well, it was the American middle class No one's house costs more than 2 or 3 years' salary or have a monopoly the economy.